The students of My Hero Academia are some of the best and brightest heroes in training the world has to offer, with Class 1A having some of the greatest there are. But how do these powerful young heroes stack up against each other? We've got an official ranking for you right here, so let's see who falls at the bottom and who comes out on top in our list of the strongest students of Class 1A. Starting off, we have Toru Hakurei, and any fan can see that she doesn't have all that strong of a quirk. Well, you can't see her since she's invisible, but you get the idea. While Toru's power is useful for stealth operations, in terms of fighting, she doesn't have that much going for her. Heck, since her power requires her to strip down naked in order to be fully invisible, she is completely exposed to taking damage when attempting to sneak around. Again, Toru isn't useless, not by a long shot, but in a battle of power, she doesn't stand much of a chance. Sure, she could get the drop on an opponent, but she has no offensive ability to help her take them out. Even with her recently developed ability to refract light as a means of temporarily blinding opponents, Toru Hakurei unfortunately falls at the bottom of Class 1A's power ranking. As terrible as Minoru Mineta's personality is, his power is actually somewhat useful. In fact, Mineta's quirk, while strange and a little gross, is rather versatile. Mineta's quirk is known as Pop-Off, and it allows him to produce and pop off orbs from his head that are incredibly sticky, adhering to any surface. Mineta himself doesn't stick to the orbs, bouncing off of them instead. Some examples of the ways in which Mineta has utilized his orbs are by using them as climbing tools, weighing down and/or incapacitating opponents, using them to bounce from place to place, setting up traps with them, and most commonly simply throwing them as projectiles. Again, not the most powerful quirk, but it has its fair share of applications and potential uses, which is why Mineta comes in at number 19. Next up, we have Ashido, whose superpower alias is Tailman, a very obvious nod to the fact that he has a big old flashy muscular tail. As gross as that might sound, Ashido's quirk, along with his skill as a martial artist, makes him pretty strong. Think about it. Ashido's tail is like an extra limb, a super strong one at that. And since he's lived with it his entire life, there's no doubting he knows how to use it. Combine this with his martial arts training and you have one dangerous opponent. Shoji's quirk is somewhat similar in concept to that of Ashido, in the sense that it centers around extra limbs. However, instead of being just one tail, Shoji has 4 extra arms. You see, Shoji's extra arms are more than just, well, extra arms. At the end of each of his arms are pods that can grow anything from extra hands to extra eyes or extra ears or extra mouths. While the combat applications of Shoji's quirk, and thus the mark of just how strong we'll consider him to be, are small in number, Shoji is still a pretty unique fighter. And with the healing abilities of his limbs, he earns the number 17 spot in our ranking. Yama is a bit of a strange character. For one thing, he made his hero name Can't Stop Twanklin', because he believes himself to be the most fabulous shining star, or something like that. Regardless, Aoyama's quirk is known as Naval Laser, and allows him to shoot a beam of energy from his belly button. But because of his weak constitution, he gets bad stomach aches whenever he uses the laser too much. A downside made worse without the help of his support item. Were it not for the downsides of his quirk, and for the fact that Aoyama doesn't seem to improve all that much as a fighter, this hero in training would have a higher rank. But he comes in at the higher end of the bottom 5. When your power lets you wrap someone up in souped-up tape, you don't need to be super strong or able to shoot projectiles of some kind. Which is exactly the case with Sato. Sato's quirk is simply known as tape, and allows him to produce giant strips of tape from his elbows. Like a lot of quirks, this one gets a little gross when you think too hard about it. Sato's quirk has a lot of offensive, defensive movement and capturing capabilities. With his tape quirk, Sato can easily capture and incapacitate opponents from a distance, swing like Spider-Man from a strip, produce double-sided tape for traps, and much, much more. Speeding into the 14th spot, we have Eita. While some might argue that the beloved class dad of 1A deserves to be higher up on the list, when you lay out all the things that Eita can do with his engine quirk, it's not all that much. Engine makes Eita's legs function like actual engines, allowing him to run super fast, but like actual engines, they also require fuel, which for him is orange juice, and they can stall or experience other mechanical failure in various situations. Basically, it's super speed that has to be maintained and monitored. Because of this, and the fact that all his quirk really allows him to do is run fast and kick hard, Eita doesn't really stand up that high in the class ranking. He's incredibly smart, strategic, and a good leader with a lot of promise, but his power level unfortunately doesn't give him that high of a ranking. Remember in the sports festival when Ashido fought against Yuga and easily defeated him by dissolving his support item? It's exactly this fight that makes us think that she could easily defeat Eita, since all it'd take to stall his engines would be some well-placed acid blasts. Suffice it to say, Eita has a lot of weaknesses, while Mina has a lot of abilities that result from her quirk, which is why we think she ranked higher than her class rep. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look at all of Ashido's strengths. Her quirk, simply known as Acid, lets her dissolve anything she shoots her acid at, a power that lets her easily climb, dissolve even the most secure walls, skate across surfaces, and, of course, burn foes with blasts of acid. Ashido might not be the strongest or smartest fighter in the series, but her quirk is incredibly versatile. Jiro's quirk is known as Earphone Jack, which also happens to be her hero name. We're not sure if she's lazy or if she just doesn't care. Regardless, Jiro's power manifests itself in the form of her extendable prehensile earlobes, which look and act like actual headphone jacks. With these jacks, Jiro can hear great distances and plug them into objects to project her heartbeat sounds through the object to deal internal damage. With the use of her support items, giant speakers on her boots, Jiro can project her heartbeat even further, making for a massive sound attack that hits hard across an incredible range. Suffice it to say, Jiro's quirk is not to be overlooked, especially with the addition of her new hand speakers that let her punch the ground with sound waves. Anyway, because of the versatility of her quirk and her usage of it, we're ranking Jiro at number 12. Jiro's incredible power versatility is cut in half by the destruction of her speaker weapons. And someone like Kaminari could do exactly that. Kaminari's quirk is known as electrification, which is a bit different from other electrical superpowers in comics and TV shows. Rather than letting him direct and shoot his electricity, Kaminari can wear electricity, meaning that he can activate an electrical aura around him. This allows him to electrocute anyone who touches him, or even discharge it in all directions, a dangerous attack to both him and his opponents. Since he can fry his own brain, turning him into, well, a drooling buffoon. Although the way Kaminari uses his power is limited, his sharpshooting support item has turned him into a dangerous opponent, one that comes in at number 11 on our list. Koda's power is known as Anivoice, and as you might imagine, it allows him to talk and command animals. This is powerful for two reasons. One, the animal kingdom is vast and full of all kinds of useful abilities that Koda can utilize, and two, its limitations aren't as much of a weakness as they seem. Think back to the training exam that Koda and Jiro had against Present Mike. Koda was able to use his power to communicate with bugs and deliver a sneak attack to his target, meaning that because of the range of abilities he has access to, and the amount of places he can turn to get help from animals, Koda's Anivoice actually makes him one of the strongest and most overlooked students in Class 1A, especially with the addition of his voice range increasing mask. Ochika Uraraka was a bit of a hard character to rank. On one hand, she has extensive martial arts training following her hero internship, but on the other, her quirk has limited combat applications. This isn't to say that Ochiko is weak by any means, as her determined attitude has gotten her through some tough situations and has pushed her to become a better fighter and hero. Additionally, we've seen her use her quirk in creative ways, like when she used the debris from her fight with Bakugo to form a meteor storm-like attack. But again, this is one of few attack applications that her quirk is capable of. So why'd we rank her in the top 10? Potential. Specifically, the potential of her quirk once mastered at the pro hero level. This potential, as well as her tenacity and strategic brilliance, make her one of the strongest heroes in the series in our ranking. While Sato has had close to no time in the spotlight, his quirk is not to be as overlooked as his character. Known as Sugar Rush, Sato's quirk allows him to basically Hulk out by ingesting sugar. Specifically, every 10 grams of sugar multiplies his strength by 5 for 3 minutes. So, the more he eats, the stronger he gets for longer. Unfortunately, the side effect of this quirk is that it lowers Sato's intelligence if too much sugar is ingested, and can also make him lethargic the longer he uses his power. Which sorta makes the character seem like a PSA for not eating too much sugar. Anyway, while the side effects and downsides of Sato's quirk are significant, there are very few powers in the series that are straight up super strength, so because of how powerful it is in concept alone, we were inclined to include the character in the top 10. Next up, we have the lovable Ichiro Kirishima, otherwise known as the only person who can stand to be around Bakugo's garbage personality for longer than 5 minutes. But seriously, Kirishima's quirk, Hardening, makes him one of the most powerful students in Class 1A, especially in a combat situation. Where other students have quirks that have versatile applications, Kirishima's is pretty much limited to combat and protecting others. But that's not a bad thing, since his power makes him both nearly invulnerable to damage and ups his strength by a significant amount. Additionally, hardening allows Kirishima to make both blunt and pointed weapons out of his hands by shaping them before hardening his body. While Kirishima isn't the most skilled fighter, since he's mostly headstrong and just plain bad at strategizing, his quirk more than makes up for this, making him one of the strongest students in Class 1A, coming in at number 7. Tsuya Asui is not only one of the most popular characters in the series, she's also one of the strongest students in Class 1A. Tsuya's quirk is simply known as Frog, and gives her all of the attributes of a frog, but at the size of a human! The list of abilities that this grants Tsuya is rather impressive, allowing her to jump great distances, climb walls, swim at incredibly fast speeds underwater, secrete mucus from her arms and stomach that have different uses, use her extendable tongue for a number of applications, store items in her stomach to regurgitate them later, and most recently revealed in the manga, camouflage her body to a certain extent. Some of these abilities are a little gross, but all of them are impressive, and since her only weakness is cold temperatures, which makes her hibernate, we'd say she deserves the number 6 spot in our ranking. In terms of description alone, Momo's quirk is probably the most powerful, useful, and versatile quirk in the entire series, save for, All for One. Known as Creation, Momo's quirk allows her to, create, the only limitations being that she can only create inorganic material, and that she must know the chemical makeup of that item, the latter of which she has no trouble handling, since she's got a genius-level brain. A big old brain. Creation works by converting lipids in Momo's body into whatever item she wishes to create, and she's created some crazy things. Everything from cannons and catapults to swords, shields, and bow staffs, Momo is incredibly skilled with her quirk, which, combined with her genius strategizing, quick thinking, and ability to stay cool under pressure, makes her one of the strongest students in Class 1A. However, because her fighting skills aren't quite as sharp as her leadership and strategic skills, she's in the number 5 spot. From the very first episode of the series, it was clear that Bakugo had one hell of a quirk. It causes his palms to sweat a nitroglycerin-like substance that he can ignite to create explosions that he's learned to utilize in a number of ways. This includes everything from straight-up firing explosions at his opponents to increasing his airtime and even adding force to punches or kicks by using his explosions as a propulsion method. Clearly, his quirk is very strong, but two things have held him back: his arrogance and his hit-or-miss fighting strategy. The former makes him hot-headed and often incapable of believing someone to be stronger than him, and the latter can be seen in the fact that his determination either spurns him to strategize in a fight or pushes him to go head first, with little to no in between. While he is strong, Bakugo has a long way to go, which is why he's only ranked at number 4. This ranking might confuse people, since Tokoyami lost to Bakugo in their sports festival fight. However, Tokoyami has a few things going for him that we think makes him more powerful. Fumikage Tokoyami's quirk is known as Dark Shadow, and it gives him command over a sentient shadow that lives within him. The shadow is weaker when exposed to light, and often more aggressive and hard to control in pure darkness. Tokoyami can also wrap Dark Shadow around his body to act as a suit of armor, increasing his physical capabilities and protecting him from damage. While Tokoyami lost to Bakugo, that was in broad daylight and before he developed his armor technique. If the two faced each other now, or even worse when Dark Shadow has gone out of control and taken over Tokoyami's body, turning him into a demonous monster, Bakugo wouldn't stand a chance, which is why we've ranked Tokoyami at number 3. Finally, we've come to the protagonist of My Hero Academia, Izuku Midoriya, the quirkless boy turned hero in training. Midoriya was born without a quirk, but thanks to All Might, he's become the next successor for All for One, a strength-enhancing quirk that has given him the potential to be as strong or stronger than All Might. Although Deku isn't at this point yet, he's still pretty dang strong. After learning to handle his quirk a bit better, Deku became a force to be reckoned with. His great strength, speed, and most importantly, intelligence contributing to this notion. Plus, his instincts have set him on the path to be a great hero in the future. As for how good Deku is in a fight, there's no denying he's gotten very good with his quirk, and his shoot style makes him a kicking powerhouse. He still has a long way to go, but Midoriya ranks as our number 2. There's not a single student at UA Academy who has completely mastered the usage and combat application of their quirk, Shoto Todoroki included. Although he's often called a prodigy and his powerful quirk supports this claim, he ignored the fire part of his quirk for almost half of his entire life due to his hatred of the father that gave him his fire abilities. That said, Todoroki is incredibly skilled with his ice powers, his ability to use them on a massive scale being evidence of this. Seriously, the guy can turn any battlefield into an icicle-covered tundra with a single wave of his cold side hand. Because of this aspect of his powers and skill alone, we've put him as number 1 in our ranking. His recent utilization of his fire powers in the manga adding to this decision. Sorry Deku and Bakugo fans, Shoto Todoroki is, in our opinion, the strongest student in My Hero Academia's Class 1A. So, there you have it, our ranking of the students of Class 1A. Do you agree, or were we completely off? Who do you think deserves to be in the top spot? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more anime videos. Thanks a whole lot for watching.